Hello, welcome everyone to the church in Utah. Today we're going to be talking about the fruit of the Spirit. So, I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there about the fruit of the Spirit, and I know I had some when I was younger. So today I want to talk about the fruit. So, in Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 to 20, it says, "Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit. Neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them." Now I know out there's different false prophets and teachers that say God doesn't want you to be a fruit inspector, and they go against Scripture because inwardly they are wolves and they want to hide anyone from examining them and the fruits that they bear. Now let's look at one of the most common, well-known passages on fruit of the Spirit. It's in Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 to 23. "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law." So from these two verses in Galatians 5, most people would say these are all the fruit of the Spirit and there's nothing else out there. And because of this, a lot of people get confused because we can see non-Christians, both religious and non-religious, and we can see fake Christians and those in counterfeit Christian groups demonstrate what seems to be the fruit of the Spirit. And it could be a real challenge to our faith. How can this person demonstrate some of these fruits here if they're not even a true Christian, or if they are an atheist, or whatever they may be? So to understand this, let's look at some more passages about the fruit. Because believe it or not, there's more than just these fruits mentioned in Galatians chapter 5. So the first example I want to use is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 9. It says, "For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth." And then Hebrews chapter 13, verse 15 says, "By him therefore let us offer the sacrifice of praise to God continually, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name." So after reading these two verses, we see also the fruit of righteousness, truth, and the fruit of the lips giving thanks. Now these three fruits can really help us determine who really is a Christian, who really has the fruit of the Spirit. So the first one I want to talk about is the fruit of truth. To have the fruit of truth, a person needs to be honest and in the truth. If they are lying or in a false religion, they are not bearing the fruit of truth. So if there seems to be someone that bears fruit and they're in falsehood, they are not truly bearing the fruit of truth in the others. Secondly, the fruit of righteousness needs to be in a Christian's life. We can meet some nice non-religious people and religious people, but if they are nice but not righteous, they are not bearing the fruit of the Spirit. Thirdly, the fruit of the lips of thanksgiving. If a person is murmuring about their life or unthankful to God, they are not bearing the fruit of the Spirit. Now, murmuring is a sin that a lot of us kind of skip past in the Scriptures, but it is something that we need to be cautious of, because it can be pretty easy to murmur about the things when they're not going how we'd like it to. Fourthly is agape love from Galatians 5. The rest of them are from Galatians 5, and I'll be talking about what they mean. So agape love is the really generalized love in the scriptures. And do you have love for other people? Do you really have love for other people? And the Bible talks about love as more than just saying words to a person, but with your actions. Your actions need to be with your words to demonstrate you truly love a person. Fifthly, joy/cheerfulness. Are we happy? Are we joyful? Are we going about life miserably, or are we joyful in the fruit that God gives us? Are we abiding to Christ through the Lord's Supper and keeping His commandments and all the other ways that we abide to Christ? Are we happy? Sixth, are we peaceable? Are we making peace with people? Are we contentious? Or are we able to try and be as peaceable as we can with everyone in righteousness? Are we being someone who isn't Clark? Cut it out. Are we someone who's starting problems, or are we a person who's working to resolve them? Seventh, long-suffering and patience. Are we patient with people who annoy us and frustrate us? Are we willing to just wait and pray for them and see them through, that they might possibly become a child of God? Just as Paul talks about, God demonstrated His patience, and a lesson for us to learn patience, that even though Paul was persecuting Christians, that God's patience would lead him to become an apostle and to help the church rather than hurt it. Eighth is gentleness/kindness. Are we gentle with people? Are we lashing out at them, calling them stupid and all these other things? Or are we taking the time and trying to talk with them and reason with them from the scriptures? Are we going about things as gently as we possibly can? And gentleness isn't saying always agreeing with someone or telling them they're right all the time, but you can tell someone that they're wrong and still be gentle and kind about it. Ninth is goodness and virtue. And with this, things have to actually be good. Isaiah talks about woe unto them that make evil, that claim evil things good. So things that are truly good and virtuous, are we, as Ephesians chapter 4 talks about, are we holding on and thinking about those things? 10th, faith. Are we being faithful? Or do we have faith in God? And with this comes the idea that we're not seeking the praises of men, or that we don't fear man, because if we fear man, if we seek the praises of man, Jesus talks about in the Gospels how can you believe those who seek the honor of men and not the honor that comes from God alone? And so with faith, it has to be in God and not in showing off to other people or trying to get praises from other people. Are we demonstrating that fruit in our lives? Number 11 is meekness/power under control. So how I understand meekness is like a horse has the thing in its mouth to help maintain it. It's strong and powerful, but it's willing to use its energy when commanded, and it's able to have a self-control over its power. And Moses is one of those people who was described as one of the most meek men on earth, and he had a lot of people annoying him and frustrating him, but he had that control of not saying, you know what, God, you just kill these people already. He had the patience, he had the meekness to hold on and to help guide Israel. Obviously God was guiding Israel, but he was there to help be there for those people. And lastly is self-control/temperance. Are we demonstrating self-control in the things that we do? Are we demonstrating that in our life that we are able to gain control over the things that we're doing, that we're not being carried away with our lusts, that we're not going after the things that please us, but rather that we are in the Spirit and are able to be guided and controlled by it through our own self-control, through the power that God gives us. Are we demonstrating these fruits in our life? That's what I'm asking you guys today. I want you to examine your life, and we're going to take the Lord's Supper.